What is up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Let me set this real quick. There we go. Ooh, how does it do that? Hope everybody's good. Uh, Let me know how you're doing. I know it's pretty late, so I'm guessing probably won't get too many people in here, but thought it might be interesting to do a roundup of today's protests. Um, got a bunch of new gear, by the way. You can't see it, but I got some new studio lights and some other stuff that I'm really looking forward to setting up. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Of course, it is like like it's like 1 a.m. on the East Coast, so I'm guessing uh, might have a smaller crowd in here. All right, we got a thumbs up. Thanks, thanks for encouraging me. I heard that phrase somewhere. I don't remember where. So yeah, I got some lights. I was watching William streams, and hey, Marcia, how you doing? I thought we'd do a little roundup of today's protests. And if you guys went to a protest in your town, I would be interested in hearing about that. In fact, because I know this movement that it's like the 50-51, something to that effect. So I'd be interested to hear if people went to those. So on other stuff, I got a bunch of studio gear, some new lights I was just messing with, which is gonna be super cool to get that going. I was inspired by Williams. I've been watching William Film the Police LA, who I think is live right now. And I don't know what kind of lights he has. I want to ask him that actually. Because I was like, wow, this looks like super cool. So so I went out and got some lights, and I haven't. I'm kind of like still messing with them, but that made me realize that just a basic kind of cool setup really can work pretty well. Just like maybe a few lights. So instead of this bright, what like LED massive LED light uh, in the apartment. Um, all right, we got two people. Thank you guys. I know it's very late where you are. Uh, I know most people are not on the West Coast. Um, what else? So yeah, we got fully monetized, which is pretty cool on this channel. So that'll help us, bring in some money. I'm stoked about that. And we set up some memberships too. All right, enough about all that. Um, so like I said, if you guys went to a protest today, I'd be like interested to hear about that. What it was like in your town. I'll tell you a little bit about what it was like here. Um, if you watch the streams, by the way, like I'm like looking forward into doing more of a regular show thing now that I have, I think pretty much all the gear that we need. Uh, so yeah, I just wanted to say that. Uh, so yeah, if you watched today's streams, you probably got the sense I was not like super into what I saw today. Uh, it was it was okay. There were I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, but there were a few protests today in LA. One was at 10 a.m., which I was not going to go to because I needed a little more sleep today. So I got to the one around, I guess I got there around noon. I thought they had a pretty good turnout, a few hundred people, and then they marched. So first I streamed vertically, while the YouTube algorithm, as you may or may not know, strongly pushes vertical streaming, I don't, it just doesn't look very good. So after like 30 minutes of that, I was like, no, so I restarted it and I just at least felt a lot better about that, like as someone who likes that cinematic kind of look. Uh, I mean, they strongly push the vertical streaming. Like if you start streaming anything vertically, it instantly more people come in. But it also attracts like some of the worst people, especially for a protest that's related to immigration. There were all kinds of. That's why I needed my mod, SPTV Tattoo Warrior. Needed you. It was rough out there. A lot of trolls. Um, like I was watching some of the other streams before I got down there, like Cutsy, and like cut, and the chat was just full of just people with these saying these gross things. So, all right, we got four people. You guys must be in Australia or something. Because a lot of times when I do these late night streams, it's people in Australia or like the UK because the rest of you should be getting ready for work tomorrow. Um, so yeah, so they had a few hundred people. You can watch the stream and see for yourself at today's President's Day protest. Will it be effective? I don't know. Protests are about a long haul, and one thing I learned in the last couple of years, especially from 2020, there's a lot of people who get into activism for, or at least a few people for the likes, for the Instagram likes. But like anything else, it's about the long haul. That's how you get justice. So we'll see. I think a lot of people are burned out, um, which I can't blame them because it's been like 8 years of this, right? Since 2016 was when kind of this some of this new fascism began. Um, and I think some people are burned out, but it's like now is when we need you more than ever now, right? So that's why I was out there. I was like, if you watch that stream, you could tell I was not feeling it in the beginning. Uh, but my role is to document and to observe. Um, like I said, if you were out there at another city, I'd be interested to kind of hear what your experience was today. Um, what else? So yeah, I got there. I didn't see anyone I knew at first, and I usually like to kind of, if I can, see someone I know, especially at those things. It's a little safer too. So I was kind of like just kind of hanging out for a while and filming. And then if you saw, the first person I saw was Jess Palmadessa, so that was cool. And then Jess and I talked for a little while, and we hung out. And then later on, all my journalist friends showed up. They had all been at the first protest, and then I think they went to like relax for a while, and then they came back. So if you saw me talking to people, that was them. There was a ton of people there. My buddy Sean was there, a cat with news. Uh, Tina Desiree Berg from Status Quo. So saw Tina. Um, there was a bunch of people, but most of them were at the first protest. And then there was also one in North Hollywood, which I heard had pretty good numbers. Out here in LA, we do not get many protests in North Hollywood, so that was interesting. And that was like the official 50 states movement thing, so that was cool. Um, so yeah, I mean they got a few hundred people, and I saw some interesting signs. Some guy was playing a was I don't know if it was like an AI generated song about Elon Musk. It was You can go back and watch the stream. It was kind of comical. Uh, I saw a lot of signs about Elon Musk, which was interesting. At the last protest, there was nothing like that. So I think that's really sinking in with people about this Doge thing and how an unelected billionaire is uh, uh, actively destroying our government with no. I'm not aware of any legal justification for that, right? So that now this is all getting wrapped up in court. And on top of that, some of the people he's employing are out and out racists, white supremacists who have access to your data, right? That's scary. Um, and then the plane crash thing on top of that, like that is just something else that I think is on a lot of people's minds, right? Because we all usually, most of us are going to fly at some point. So there's a lot going on in this country right now. Um, so yeah, if you were at a protest or you plan on going to a protest, I would be interested to hear about that. Uh, they had a good crowd. The I wasn't totally clear on who the organizer was, and there was a group that was leading it that doesn't really have a very good reputation out here. I don't feel the need to promote them personally, but like I will say sometimes they're able to draw people out, which is important, but I also was a little conflicted about uh, I don't like some of the things that they do. So I was not really like into filming some of that stuff. If you go on my Twitter though at Eric LeVay, you can see I did put up a few videos. Uh, some are just to the protest. One was of a random woman who walked up to the protest with like she started like she was yelling like liar, and then she literally pulled a microphone with no cord out of her bag and was just like yelling liar into it, which was a little funny, admittedly. So I don't know what the story was. I don't know what the story was there. Uh, so yeah, it's hard to organize a protest. I think on a Monday, even a holiday. So I thought that it was. Just get some water. Thought that it was. They had a decent turnout. I was told the one in North Hollywood was a lot more people, and the one at 10 a.m. Also seemed like it got a pretty good crowd, which was a little more about immigration. That protest was more centered on that. Uh, if you've been in this channel, you know that's I strongly support what this country is all about, which is uh, that it's a nation of immigrants, and every person, every one of us is, you know, I'm for example, a second generation American, right? Because my grandparents were born in Hungary, so so that's something I strongly believe in. And unless someone is a Native American, everybody else uh, came from somewhere else, right? Like most people immigrated here. Um, so anyway, there's a longer conversation about that. Uh, so that's something I really believe in, and I'm been disappointed to see some of the things that have been happening in this country about that. Kel said, "You saw microphone lady on Jessica's stream." Jessica's in my video, by the way. If you go on Twitter, you can see her. She just turns around, and it was funny. And like everybody start like, uh, I was just thinking about the immigration thing. Yeah, because either your family immigrated here. Uh, I guess I just don't understand why this is why people have this hatred of immigrants. It's totally bizarre to me. Um, yeah, so the woman with the microphone, that was funny. And what was also funny was I saw like every reporter there just kind of ran towards her because uh, I'm just speculating, but I think they felt very uninspired as I did. And I think they were like, oh, like I hate to put it in those ruthless kind of terms, like those night crawler, it's kind of like the worst things you hear about journalists. But I think they were really bored. And when that happened, they were like, oh, okay, I'm just going to run over here. Um, I don't know what the story was there because like I was like, is this a bit? Is this a counter protester? And then I just filmed it because I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I guess I'm no better than anyone else. Uh, so, um, I also saw that movie Civil War recently, the feature film, and I actually thought it was pretty good. Will, I'm sorry. Will said, I feel like we're in 1930s Germany. Yes. I would agree with that, Will. As a side note, I have got to get, I, I got to get another phone. I love the Pixel is an awesome phone, except for one thing, the brightness. Like when I'm covering these protests, especially today, I was like, you can't even like, you can like barely see what you're filming. Um, but yeah, Will, I would agree with that. I I think I felt like that for a while. I mean, I honestly feel like I felt like that probably for like 6 or 7 years. I hate to say it, but um, what's crazy is it's how open it is, right? Like that's when all the alarm bells are, really when, like they say in the national security field, when the lights are blinking red, that's the phrase that they'll often use. Like that's what it feels like, right? Like more than that. Um, and these, and then it's like it's happening, like Elon Musk is literally giving a Nazi salute, and then there's still news organizations that are like couching in these ways. It's like, no, dude, this is happening, man. This is happening right now. And the mask is obviously off, right? And will right, exactly. And that's what happens is all these like the way I've always explained extremism to people as someone who covers it is like you can never you cannot eradicate hate. It's like always going to be there on some level, but what you want to do is have some control. The idea is to drive these people back into the basement where they belong. It's not great that they have these views, but in this country, our First Amendment does protect you. You have the right. You have the right to hate. In this country, you do. Uh, you don't have the right to be free from consequences for that. That's the thing. And so, when times are better, like I said, people like that are back in the basement, uh, doing God knows what. But there's at least some control, right? Now, though, right, they're serving in government. The Musk is the richest person in the world, right? I think he is, right? Like, or I forget who's at the top exactly. So this guy is obviously an open extremist now. It has embraced Nazi views, um, and white supremacist ideology, etc. So, so the mask is like really off, right? And then you have these guys like uh, Darren Beatty and these other people who hold these disgusting views who are now going into government, etc. You got shoot, the guy who's running USAID, the aid organization that they're destroying, Pete Morocco. He's an unindicted capital attacker, right? Like a lot of people don't know that. Yes, Pete Morocco stormed the Capitol and is now in a very important position in government. They would have got to him eventually, I'm sure, but now obviously everybody's been pardoned. So anyway, uh, so yeah, it's really bad when these racists start feeling comfortable. These anti-Semites start feeling comfortable. Oh, you know, because it's all a judgment with them. They're like, oh, not to go on about this because it's so it's depressing, frankly. But uh, when things are a little better, they know that when those views come out, that there's going to be severe consequences. But once the mask is off, or once they see, hey, you know, the president or whoever agrees with me, then the mask starts to come off. Um, and you can remember that from 2016, right? Remember when remember Richard Spencer and all that stuff, right? Things you maybe never thought you would see. Um, so, so some of the Proud Boys, on to your comment there, Will, they were so Terrio and Ethan Nordine, who were both serving long prison sentences, but are now Terrio's pardoned and Nordine, I think, was commuted. So they were out there today, sort of having a barbecue in West Palm Beach. Um, Luckily, it looked like the numbers were pretty small, so that's good. Uh, So far, I don't think we've seen the amount of, fingers crossed, we haven't seen the kind of rampant street violence coming from people like that. But keep in mind, they just literally got out of jail. So they're probably going to be careful, I think, for a little while, even with this administration. Um, but rest assured, they'll probably be up to their old tricks in no time, right? So yeah, Terry was out there, Nordine, who was originally from the Pacific Northwest. He's now relocated to Miami. He's, according to him, you always got to be real careful with what these guys say. Uh, Daryl Lamont Jenkins, who is a friend, and if you don't know Daryl, look him up. Daryl is one of the original anti-fascists and just an incredible human being who has done incredible work. And you can look up One People's Project, which is Daryl. That's Daryl's organization. But anyway, one time Daryl said, uh, "Proud Boys lie," and that's a very accurate statement. And they do. They lie about a lot. So I might have missed one comment there, but I think you're talking about somebody who was the person who was arrested at Obama's house is a guy named Taylor Toronto, uh, who, yeah, was arrested in a very scary incident, who I think had a lot of firearms on him and stuff. He was creeping around in the woods, I think, somewhere. So, rightly so, I don't, I assume he's still in prison. I certainly hope he's in prison. Um, I've spent a fair amount of my professional career outside of journalism monitoring people like that, and that's a very scary type of individual. Um, I could tell you too, federal agencies right now. I was hearing this before the election, even, or like no, maybe like around the election, like that these agents were like FBI agents, etc. Right after the election, were getting very nervous, like what's going to happen. For the most part, they don't get to pick what investigations they work on. And I was hearing that they were getting, frightened that there'd be retribution and for working on, like, let's say January 6th, etc. And I was thinking, I could understand that, but I don't even know if it's really coming true. There's real retribution. I mean, if you guys are reading these stories, I, they had to submit a list or something of who worked on what. And some of these lists, by the way, have been unclassified. So I, believe me, I'm as suspicious of authority as anyone. I don't want to. I'm as a reporter, I'm often looked at as an antagonist to these agencies, but uh, it's crazy. Some of these agents did really good work, and to lose your job is crazy. Or worse could happen. Your name could be put out there your name gets put out there in the wrong way. You can have a problem fast. Um, and like I said, you don't, for the most part, get to pick what investigations you work on in the federal bureaucracy. So uh, they also sent over an unclassified list of CIA employees that was sent to the White House. If that was sent unclassified, it's almost certainly been stolen already, like by take your pick of our adversaries who now have that. So this stuff is crazy. Um, Will said, "I hope people wake up because this is real fascism. Corruption is legal." Yeah, exactly. They're getting rid of these. Like, I think he invalidated Trump the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which is a law that prevents American companies from bribing foreign-based companies. Just open corruption, right? Like, why would you do that? So, I spent a lot of my career writing about like Russia and uh, China a little bit, uh, other countries in Eastern Europe, places where there's a culture of this country is very corrupt too, but to see us going down that path, like the open mafia path. And someone in one of these chats the other day disagreed with me and was like, "This country's always been corrupt," and it's like, yeah, it has, but there are some differences. There are some differences. Um, we got a president now who's literally uh, enriching himself and every. There's a lot of corruption, right? Politicians enrich themselves, and that's wrong. But you have to have your head in the sand to know that this is not this is the next level. Um, Will said Elon just got 400 million in federal contracts. Yeah, I don't have the exact number, but I mean, obviously, uh, not only can he get contracts, well, he and Trump are too big to fail now, right? Let's say they make every bad business decision, and both of them have made plenty. The thing is, when you have power now, it doesn't matter. You like, let's say Twitter, right? Elon destroyed Twitter, but now the I read the other day, banks are starting to be able to unload some of their investment, their debt, because it's just corruption. People want a piece of it, right? That's all it is. It's basically a bribe, more or less, right? Let me get involved in this because this guy has power, right? Uh, so then they become too big to fail. It doesn't matter. They can do the craziest whatever, buy whatever. Nothing's going to happen. And now a bank is going to be afraid to. That's another thing. Let's say Trump asks for a loan, right? Because his finances are always a disaster, right? Now a bank is afraid to say no. Even even with this administration, this is different than even the first presidency, right? Because now they're on the big retribution kick. So let's say he asks for a loan from, whatever, Chase Bank. If they say no, what's next? Who knows? Could he try to nationalize a bank? Will he send Doge staffers in there? I mean, it's crazy. That's why you got to fight back when this stuff starts. Because at a certain point, it's like when things get in motion, at a certain point, you can't. It's too late. Um, I appreciate you guys coming in. We got 5 people. We got 7 thumbs up. Thank you. Um, where's my mod? Where's SPTV? Let's get a shout out. It was crazy earlier. I had to turn on subscriber mode because the amount of crazy comments I was getting when I filmed that protest. Will said the Democratic politicians seem to be sleeping. Yeah, literally. Do you guys follow Ken Klippenstein? Like people get mad at Ken, I think a little bit sometimes, and like I don't agree with. They're mad because Ken has been doing a lot of reporting on the phrase, the gerontocracy that we have politicians who are 70, 80, 90 years old. I mean, literally sleeping, like not even just like a euphemism, right? Like I think we're way past a little bit of this. I well, like civility, like that would be nice, but like we had that one politician. They weren't a Democrat, but was it Kay Granger in a congresswoman from Texas, and they found out first of all, someone realized she's been missing for like it was like 6 months or something. She's been in assisted living. She's not well. And then the next thing people said was, "What has your staff been doing?" Because that's borderline fraud. If they've been collecting a government paycheck and she's not even showing up to vote, and that's not the first time we had that out here with Senator Feinstein, who was very unwell, right? Look, let's just be honest, right? And uh, I don't even know who. That's also dangerous because you have staffers who are they in effect who are not elected are likely the ones who are voting. They have then power. They have power over her, really. So, and I would agree with that comment. Will said liberals need to move left to where the rest of the nation is. See, that's one of the problems is that most people do embrace these values. Someone the other day, they referred to me as, I mean, my whole career, people, left wing journalist, blogger, a Capitol rioter once memorably referred to me as, what did she call me? An unemployed left wing blogger. That was one of my favorite insults. It was, what's her name? I forget. I sent her a request for comment and she was like, I don't speak to unemployed left wing bloggers. I was like, I thought that was hilarious actually. But my editor was like, we don't need to include that. I would have been, I thought it was funny. Anyway, the point being like it's comical to me when people have applied that to me because my views are in line with what most people believe. But this country and failures by media and other for other reasons have convinced people uh, like let's say I believe strongly in environmental causes. I believe in that climate change is real and it's caused by humans. That's believed by a majority. Most Americans agree with that, but uh, and they want to fix it. Even more importantly, most Americans want to fix it. But then you say that, and then uh, a small amount of people with a louder voice or who are willing to be more vicious uh, have managed to like kind of sway the narrative. Um, Most people in this country are not down with racism. They're not down with anti-Semitism. They don't agree with that stuff. Um, and if liberals, excuse me, liberal, if or progressives would just embrace that, you know, just embrace your values, right? We had a president, flawed as he was too, but Franklin Roosevelt, he stood in an arena. I mean, he gave a speech in an arena um, in front of thousands of people. I think when he was trying to get Social Security, when they were trying to get the New Deal passed, and he said about his enemies, he said, "I feel their hatred, and I welcome it." You know, if you haven't seen that speech, it's on YouTube. It's very famous. Like, what happened to that Democrat? Like that, I feel their hatred and I welcome it. I might have paraphrased that a little bit. That's basically what he said. Um, that's why I'm always so vocal about what I believe, and I'd rather take the hate or whatever than just. I'll never be mealy mouthed about it. And if I lose a journalism job here and there, no worries. Um, I mean, as long as your work is good, that's one thing I like about Rolling Stone. The editor has since left, but he's a great guy. The guy who gave me a break there, Noah Shackman. And I think when Roe v. Wade was overturned, as I recall, he sent out I think a email to all full-time staffers. I was just a freelancer there and am a freelancer, but he basically said, because a lot of people were understandably outraged, and some newspapers were like telling their staffers, you can't say anything, right? We don't allow that. And he was like, at Rolling Stone, you can be a human being as long as the work itself is held to the same high editorial standards. You are allowed to be a human being, and I like that personally. Um, and most of the outlets I've written for are kind of like okay with that, right? What you do on your personal social media, as long as your work is at the highest editorial standards, it's okay. That's a long conversation. I could maybe do that on another stream, but you know. And Will said, "Hey, hey, Verity, it's either my eyes are getting worse, which is possible, or it's also these lights." um, Will said Kamala lost because she didn't listen to her base. Yeah, I thought, I thought Vice President Harris ran a pretty good campaign. I mean, it was short, obviously. no major mistakes or anything. I probably a long conversation there about what happened, but I don't. Yeah, that's a uh, long conversation. I mean, I for sure. Um, but on a big picture scale, to your point, I think that embracing. So what I read was that basically, remember when Tim Kaine came out and called them weird, and people thought that was really funny, and it was very effective because it's true. As someone who's been covering the radical right for a very long time, uh, that is an underused strategy. They're very weird, and weird. Everybody was a kid at some point, right? That is a devastating insult. Think about the bullies you knew growing up. And I actually like was luckier than most people. When I was I'm sure you can tell like I like to talk, and I also used to I did some work in comedy too. So I didn't really have a problem growing up. I wasn't like really that physically that tough, but a lot of kids were afraid of me because I was like they were afraid of I was like the cut up. They were afraid of what, because I knew how to like, I could insult somebody if I wanted to. I'm not a mean person, but if somebody rubbed me the wrong way, I could say something really bad and I didn't have to think about it. It would just come out. So anyway, how did I get on that topic? Oh, weird is a devastating insult, right? Someone calls you weird as a kid, it hurts. And and that was so effective when he did that. And then I guess from what I read, they kind of like, don't do all that. Big mistake. These people they're weirdos, freaks. Jack Posobiec, one of the most notorious right-wing extremists I've written about, absolute freak. And nothing drives these people crazier. And I can tell you that in person, or personally, like when Jack put me on blast one time because I wrote about him on Twitter, being called out for their behavior is devastating to them. And in the political arena, it really works. Uh, so if they're weird, yeah, man, call them out. And that's supposed to be the role of the vice president, is supposed to be the attack dog, right? It's always been like that. Uh, Verity said it's a sad indictment to see the land of the free become so oppressed. Yeah, right. You're from Australia, right? Because I was saying how this time of night we get our Australian friends in here because everybody else has to be ready for work. Yeah, I turned up the screen brightness a little bit. Um, I thought Harris was even when she ran the first time, I thought she was, because she's a very good speaker. She thinks on her feet. What happened this time was complex, and yeah, long conversation there. But I don't know. I like ate dinner, but now I'm like hungry again because like I think all that walking. I don't know if you guys saw, but I walked like that march. We must have walked at least 5 miles. I'm gonna. I'm like, what can I? I'm like, what can I grab here? That's like right. Wait, hang on. 1 second. Okay. So yeah, she did campaign with Liz Cheney. I mean, yeah, this is what I don't. I it's crazy because like that's why over the years like I've tried to offer myself as a political consultant a little bit, like or my advice even for free, like because you don't need to do all that. You don't you don't need like the problem is they keep Washington is like there's like this zombie thing going on, right? Where the same political consultants get work. The same ones who like don't win elections are now running, they'll like run somebody else's campaign. It's a zombie. They just keep they're just they're zombies. And they keep listening to the same people who give them bad advice. You don't have to do that. Americans respect like leadership and people who stand for something. And so that's what the secret is. Just forget about the polls and just stand for something. And then you win or lose, but you win or lose as you. when was the last time you even saw something like that? When was the last time you saw a progressive like just run, and even if they lost, it was like, hey, I I was myself. You don't see that very often. Uh, in the end, none of that stuff mattered. Like nobody campaigning with Cheney or whoever. It did not. It obviously didn't matter in this particular election. Um, and they've done other really gross things like trying to beat Republicans on like what they call border security. And on top of being immoral, it also didn't work. They lost, right? Harris lost. Um, Trying to out tough them with like police issues and stuff. It's like, look, just be yourself. People naturally will follow a leader. Uh, One thing that we don't like in this country, it's like I don't know if this is true in other countries. I know some of you guys like are in other countries right now, Verity. Um, this country very much does not like phonies or what they see as phonies, right? I've always felt like that is a little bit of an American thing in a way. And so someone who at least like Bernie Sanders is a long conversation because he never really got to be the nominee, so we never saw the full force of the Republican Party going up against him. But I thought that he garnered a lot of respect because he's very open about his own beliefs, right? And he's pretty consistent, right? He's had a long career in government. So, and even what I'm trying to say is like even people who are like very conservative Republicans were kind of like, yeah, I might not agree with him on too much, but I respect I respect I respect him kind of, And then the mixing in a little bit of that populism, that can be very effective, you know. Uh, so I mean, we need candidates like that. I talked about that on the stream. I actually talked about that with Jess briefly. If you saw the stream earlier with Jess Palmadessa, I was like I've thought about like running for office, but like I want to be most effective where I can, and it's I don't know. I feel like I'm more effective in other ways, having a voice, reporting or hear a political show. Um, and I don't have any problem, by the way, with people who change their minds. Like that can, over time, that's a normal thing, and that can be a good thing. That shows somebody's thinking, right? I've evolved. We all evolve on issues, right? That I always like when people like would attack, like they'd bring out old clips of Joe Biden. I was like whatever, like you're entitled to your criticisms and all that, but like I'd be really worried if a person who's been in politics for like 50 years did not evolve on an issue. Like, yeah, he was one of the ultimate politicians, but like, you know, look, there has to be a little flexibility, I think, in uh, our. It's not what I'm trying to say is it's not a romance. That's one of the problems I think. You see that in the Democratic Party. It's like, bro, it's not a romance. You want somebody to run your government effectively. Yes, we all want to be inspired by somebody. Those people do not come along very often. The people who really, you know, have that thing. Obama had it, has it. Uh, there's a few politicians who have that thing. But sometimes it's just somebody you want somebody to run the government, and we're about to find out very shortly. We're finding out right now what happens when people don't have that ability at all. Um, Will said AOC and Bernie are the only ones fighting. I like AOC. Tom Homan, who's like the new border czar. I don't know if you guys saw, but he made a comment that the the journalist Aaron Rupar on Twitter said that he asked AOC to be investigated. I saw the clip. I think it was very concerning. I don't maybe I have to watch it again. I don't know if that's exactly what it said, but I think that was pretty much what it was saying. and all because she's against his immigration policies. That's obviously very concerning when you're asking, if you're allegedly asking the DOJ to investigate a politician, because they allegedly she made some comment like telling people could hide, and you're allowed to say stuff like that. You're allowed to say stuff like that. So um, I'm not sure what would open an investigation there, but with a group of fascists, yeah, fascists say stuff like that. Fascists ask for their opponents to be investigated for speaking out, for speaking the truth. Um, Will said they shouldn't change their core beliefs like Tulsi, parentheses, Russian agent Gabbard. Our new national security, uh, what is she, DNI, Director of National Intelligence? I can't even remember. Very bad situation. Imagine the conversations our allies are having right now, which they've had to do this before, but now they have to have sobering conversations that cannot they cannot share any information with us because they don't know who it's going to go to, which is puts all of us in danger as Americans. All of us are in grave danger right now. I don't hate to be too negative, but we're in grave danger. Even taking a flight, you know. Now next time I'm flying, I'm thinking about it, right? In a real way, you know. We already said two-party system sucks really. The right and left try to outdo themselves when it comes to the middle ground. Happens here too. Yeah, I have another really good friend in Australia as well. She's a researcher. Um, Shout out 2025 Karma. What's going on? If you follow extremism, make sure to follow her on Twitter, Blue Sky. So she and I talk about the politics, uh, you know, all that. We have many conversations. I guess she wouldn't mind. She called me the day after the election and was like, what is going on?" And I'm like, "Hey, I know, I get it, I get it." And we joke because what she tells me is like in Australia, people are like not, they're just like not as into it. They're like, I don't want to like, I guess I would paraphrase a little, but she was definitely like people think the politicians are kind of a joke. It just sounded like a little bit different than here. Like I don't know how to explain it exactly, but there was a little bit of a difference. Uh, it sounded like they don't refreshing, like they don't take it too seriously. I don't think that's bad. Tulsi was definitely in a cult. I don't remember the name of it. If you remember it, let me know. It's some bizarre group. There was a video that was going around about that. Will said air traffic control is woke. That's funny. Everything's woke. Everything. Everything I don't like is woke. Right? Air traffic control. Did you ever think you'd see people attack firefighters? But they did that during the fires out here. I never in my life would have thought that the radical right could go that low. But there's no end they won't sink to. They were attacking the fire chief out here. Um, it's crazy. But look, I mean, Trump pardoned vicious terrorists who beat police officers on January 6th, right? I think I saw like there was like the Fraternal Order of Police or one of these like police organizations that are typically very conservative, and they released this statement which was sort of embarrassing, honestly. I you could tell they weren't happy that those people were pardoned, but it was definitely not a full kind of defense, which is disgraceful. You know, I mean, some real vicious people are now back on the street. It's crazy. I thought with the pardons, I was like his supporters, they were right. They read it more correctly in that way, where they were like, oh, everyone's getting pardoned, and I was like, I don't know, maybe just the nonviolent ones. Well, technically nobody was nonviolent. That's a longer conversation, but just the ones who were not indicted for violent crimes. But they were right. He pardoned every single one of them, or commuted. Um, Air traffic control is woke. That just makes me laugh. Everything's woke. Air traffic control, science. Obviously. Um, that's why I want to like ideally like I want to get this like more like a Sam Cedar type thing going, where people have told me they like David Pakman, stuff like that. That's what I want to really kind of get going. Some kind of like alternative media full time, little bit of humor. If you go on YouTube, maybe I could add it to this channel. But if you go check me out, I was on the Daily Show podcast with Jordan Klepper like a year and a half ago, and I was like, oh, like I had these guys rolling in the control room. Seriously, like before we were going on, and they were like, because they didn't know that I had done comedy too. So him and his producer, I could tell they were like, because I came on as the person to talk about conspiracy theories, but I could tell they were like, wow, like what's. So I was like, oh man, like I need to get back into this. And now I've been thinking in terms of being effective. uh, Like how much investigative reporting can you at a certain point, maybe maybe comedy or something will be more effective now, right? Because I hate to say it, but like these people are openly corrupt. Like there's a lot of like great reporting, but like I don't know, mockery is still pretty effective. I got to say, um, and we need. That's when one of my disagreements. There was this whole thing going on. If you guys saw about needing left wing Joe Rogan, people were like getting mad. I'm like, you guys do not get it. Yes, you don't want someone who's putting out like bad information, but let's keep it real. First of all, Joe Rogan is very good at what he does. He would not be in that position if he wasn't. I don't personally agree with a bunch of the things he says, but I've also seen episodes I do like. I'll just, be honest about that. I don't agree with COVID. Obviously, I don't agree with scientific misinformation. I don't like platforming people with certain views, but to say we don't need a, and the thing is, to say we don't need a people control, on these mediums is crazy. Yes, we actually do need a left wing Joe Rogan, just a little different. Um, I mean, I'll go further than that. Look, how many people did you know how powerful Rush Limbaugh was? The guy, just a gross human being. But you know how powerful he was on the airwaves? We need people who embrace real progressive values, but who can talk for 3 4 hours, hint hint, without even without even any prompting. So so yeah, I just that's like some people they got mad at me when I said that, but I'm sorry. Yeah, no, we need some voices. I mean, do you guys remember when they tried Air America? Uh, that was like they tried this progressive network. It had some good hosts. I think Tom Hartman was on there. I've spoken to Tom a few times. Like I really like what Tom does. Um, they who else did they have? I think Al Franken was on there for a bit, but we need people to connect with these audiences, man. Like one of the biggest mistakes that people, Democrats, left wing people did was ceding AM radio to the radical right. That or just in general, like how did that happen? That was in like the 70s or maybe the 80s or something, where that's when Rush took over the radio. Um, and as much as I don't like Rush, that guy did 3 4 hour shows with not even a co-host or anything, right? And he had a lot of power. Politicians were afraid of him. he had more power than most politicians. That's just what I'm trying to say. Um, and it can be any voice. It doesn't have to be, I don't care what it is. There's some sites I follow, like news organizations that I like, but I don't agree with everything they do. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but or maybe journalists specifically. Like, I'm hard pressed now to think of one, but because it's late. But uh, we need alternative voices, and we need on these. Look, I'm still relatively new to YouTube, and I'm seeing uh, people tell me like they've tuned out, quote unquote mainstream media, and they're looking for voices on these mediums or TikTok or whatever, like whatever it is. I mean, you have to be there. Um, I have a big complaint with news organizations who publish these like huge investigative pieces, which is great, but then people don't understand it or it doesn't get to an audience. It's like you put in all this work for what? For what? To impress another reporter? To win a Pulitzer? Because that's sometimes what it is. Because I worked on stories like that, and it's fun, but a lot of what that stuff does is it advances your career sometimes. But what's the point if people don't understand it? When I was getting started in this, which was not that long ago, it was like 2018 or something. And my buddy Scott, we started this. Scott started an independent outlet called Forensic News. I came on board, and from the beginning, we would always explain to people from like in the first paragraph, or then Scott would add a TLDR, too long didn't read, because that's why. Or then Scott added video investigations, like just stuff to like get this across, right? We always tried to do that. We did a podcast where we talk about the investigation. It doesn't matter, just to get the point across, right? Um, Podcasting. Navalny, rest in peace. It's been a year since Vladimir Putin murdered Alexei Navalny. And a lot of people forget that Navalny came to fame not as an activist, but as a journalist, and as a journalist doing video investigations, exposing the oligarchs' wealth, and it was so effective because it was a video that really that's the way we're designed. Our brains are built to absorb video and TV and stuff like that. Like, what am I going to do after this? I'm going to zone out and watch some TV. That's that's what's going to happen right after this. Uh, so I forget how I got off on that tangent, but John Stewart is yeah, John Stewart is back, right? I'm like out of the loop because I canceled my like cable a while ago. So, but a very important voice, and didn't always agree with. There were some points towards the end where I felt the store was running it down the middle a little bit, like which I didn't like, but certainly a monumental figure in political comedy. You know, when he was good, nobody was better than Jon Stewart, and he's still good. They just they had that rally. It was called the Rally to Restore Sanity. It was a long time. It was like a while ago, but I remember like that kind of bugged me a little bit because I was like, yeah. So who's so there's two. Which party is being crazy, right? Like, is it really both? Like, are both disappointing in different ways? Yeah, but come on, man. like like one is straight up fascist. Like, let's not let's not thread that needle too much. But great comedian, very important figure in American history, and that's why he got a Kennedy Center honor. God only knows who's gonna be the next one. You think it's Kid Rock, right? Kid Rock's gonna definitely get a Kennedy Center honor. So yeah, if you guys have ideas for videos, let me know. What else? I'll just go over a few things. If you heard this already, I apologize. We got monetized, which is awesome. And then I launched memberships, so people want to support the channel. It's $3 a month, so which is pretty cool. So you can, if anybody wants to become our first member, that'd be very cool. Um, I'll have to think of more, what do you call it, like benefits or, uh, sorry, it's getting a little late. So that's cool. And and I got a bunch of new studio equipment, so I have some lights. And once I get a little background, I think, then I think we're good to go. Um, and I know sticking to a schedule is important. That is challenging because I have writing to do and I have other commitments. But uh, so I've set up. I have it scheduled, but it's going to be soon. It's not. If you can see on my YouTube page. So about a week ago, I identified a exact location where a right-wing streamer crashed his car while he was streaming. And that's a big thing if you guys don't follow these sad and seedy world of right-wing streaming. A lot of these grifters are always crashing while they're live streaming. So anyway, using the skills I have as a open source researcher, I was able to identify the exact location because the guy was trying to hide where he was. So I put it up on Twitter. But anyway, then I was like, hey, that might be a fun video. So I'm going to show, first of all, I'm going to go over the history of right-wing streamers crashing their cars, which I feel like might be a little fun, sad and fun. But then I'm going to show you guys how you could do that, how you can locate someone based on a very, please don't do anything crazy, don't stalk anybody, it's for, I'm teaching you some of these skills. No, my channel would never, only good people subscribe to this channel. But I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And I was able to do it from this terrible video. So, and you're gonna see the guy was trying to hide it. He put his hand up like this. It was like, bro, I was able to do it in about 10 minutes, which is not, I'm not saying that's always possible. There were a few ways that things that helped me, but I'm gonna explain how I did that. So I think that would be really fun. And that's called a geolocation. If you're new to open source, that's just a very fancy and a little nerdy way of saying how to find somebody based on public information. Um, so if I was on StreamYard, I would put it in the chat right now. But uh, so he crashed his car in a parking lot. He just drove into this guy who is understandably irate because I could tell the guy, people are, they're not happy when there's a car accident, but the guy also is like, what? You could tell even from before he cuts the stream off, you could tell the guy's like, what the hell? How could this happen? The way it happened is the guy is live streaming and not paying attention. And then he goes, my bad. Like he said, was like, it's like, what? And he's all trying to hide where it is. And like, so shout out to Boss Money who clipped that before the guy took it down. I don't know what happened there after that with the insurance company, but the guy's at fault anyway. So I don't know if it would make a difference, but you cannot be live. You can't be doing that. Taking down the video, that could arguably be. I don't know what he said to his insurance company, but you can't do stuff like that. Will, to answer your question, Trump has declared himself head of the Kennedy Center, the Mad King. Bro, literally the Mad King. That's what I was saying to a friend of mine. I was like, he's probably going to try to take over the Academy Awards, right? Nationalize the Oscars. You never know, man. You just never know. Uh, so yeah, I thought it'd be fun to do that workshop. Like I'm gonna queue it up with a bunch of car crashes that I clipped, other people have clipped. Like I don't know if you saw the big one, but my friend Anarchy Princess on Twitter, who's an activist on the East Coast, she clipped that one that went incredibly viral. Like TMZ picked it up, where these right wing fascists were driving to a rally, and the guy literally like just live streaming on a snowy road driving too fast and just totally wipe out. Thank God nobody was hurt. And yeah, you saw that one, Will. So that one there was like millions of views. That got picked up. So we'll probably throw that one in. And then there's a legendary one called Darlene. Thanks for the super chat. Unfortunately, I've been unable to find that one because that one got removed from. That was clipped by a lot of people, but it got removed. And so that one, uh, I think it was the streamer First Responders Media. I think it was him, where he was literally like got this big super chat, I guess, and was like, Darlene, thanks for the super chat. Accident. But that's when the accident happened right there, right? So that one was legendary, and people used to. You could even put Darlene, thanks for the super chat plug that into Twitter, and you'll just see like people talking about that incident. So so that one went around. There's been a bunch. Even out here, there were protesters out here who do that still. I'm like, dude, live streaming and driving, bad idea. I mean, no, it's just don't do it. Just don't do it. I say that, and then I'm like, there was one time where I was like, oh, it'd be cool to drive on Sunset, and I was like, no, I can't be that guy. I just can't be that guy. Um, so yeah, pretty stoked. Got some good plans, and been enjoying the streaming. Today was okay. Um, I initially was not super happy when I was out there, as you guys saw from the beginning. I was just like, this just is not. It's just like not. I just like wasn't into it. And then when I recalibrated there, and then I started streaming vertical again, or horizontal again. Excuse me. It got a little better. Um, and then when I saw some people, also I was saying like I don't really like being at these things alone in the city because they're not always like super safe. I'm used to it, but I don't like it. I like you want somebody there. So when I got there, I was like, oh shoot, nobody's there. I should have. But later, everybody showed up. So uh, yeah, you like want somebody around for sure. Uh, I mean, I go to a lot of them alone, and I shouldn't, and I just I don't I because I'm like it- one like William is the same way. Film the Police LA. William does his own thing. And we talked about that in the interview, I think, because I've always been the same way. I do my own thing too. But unfortunately, once in a while, that can lead to some kind of bad incident. I don't like waiting for people. I don't like depending on people for things. But I also am cognizant, like I said, when I rolled up today and I was like, yeah, I should have come here with somebody. I'm not saying it was like dangerous, but I had that vibe where I just had that vibe. I was like, so so when I ran into Jess Palmadessa, I was like, cool, I know somebody here now, right? And then later I saw everybody, so it's fine. Um, Reporters are not well liked, unfortunately, in this country, and there's a long conversation about that. The law associated with live streaming in California, I'm not sure, but Leah, is there a law against live streaming your car? Really good question. So cell phone use driving is illegal, right? So I would have to imagine that would probably fall under that. Uh, well, wait. So you're not because it's a hands-free law, right? So you're allowed to talk on the phone hands-free. So honestly, I don't know. It's never come up in court that I know of. Imagine a court trying to deal with that. Like, imagine explaining that to a judge who's been on the bench for a while about, yes, sir, I'm a right-wing streamer and I get grifty super chats while I'm driving my car. You know, I feel like that'd be kind of funny. This stream, by the way, is way better than what I did earlier. was better later, and then they marched, and that was, that was fine and all that. So, and then I hit Grand Central Market, um, which is this really cool place in LA. If you've never been or if you visit LA, it's right across the street from Angel's Flight, which is this really another cool spot. Which is like a if you ever watch the show Bosch on Amazon, you've seen Angel's Flight. It's like an old school trolley that goes just a short distance, but it's super cool. Will said I've been to a lot of wild protests. Keep my head on a swivel. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know. The minute like so many things have happened in this city to me, like I'm always like have my head on a swivel, which is unfortunate because I'd like to be able just to you know enjoy it, just like what I do. But a lot of weird people out there. I did have a good con. There's this one guy I talked to. I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but so this guy, I've seen him around. He's like super tall. Like I'm 6'1". This guy is towering over me, and was like basically like uh, he's a big dude, and he came up to me, and I'm like a little like, but all he was telling me was about the organizer. We had a pretty good conversation. Uh, he was just like expressing some criticisms of the organizer, and so we had a good conversation there. That's why you always got to keep an open mind. Never assume something. But that was funny. I was like, because as soon as I saw him walking up to me, I was like, what, what's gonna happen here? But it was totally cool. And then I got some really good video later. Um, hey, Shimmer Chair, we've just been talking about today's President's Day protest, and then just kind of just talking about the channel and stuff going on in this country. I think this will be a pretty good replay video. Not too much dead air. Um, and then earlier I went to a couple protests. I don't know if those will be good replays because as I talked about, they're just yeah, it just was like eh. So, but that's something I need to accept that not everything can be a win. I'm a perfectionist. I need to accept that not everything is going to be a winner, especially in this medium. That's hard for me to accept, but I need to accept it. So it was all right. But I'm not vertical streaming. I don't think I'm going to do that again. As much as I want to grow this channel, I did not. And I was looking at it and like aesthetically, I was just like, man, I don't like this. Like, look at how it looks. It was driving me crazy. I like to frame a shot. It's important. So maybe I'll just deal with that. Uh, so I'll probably wrap this up pretty soon. Um, it was hard because I was like, with the vertical stuff, I was like, I could see people coming in, and I was like, I'm trying to grow this thing, and I see everybody else doing it, but no, man. I'm not saying I won't do it again, but I also just wasn't feeling that in general today. As you saw, like just standing there, I was like, man, what's going on here? Maybe it was just one of those days, I guess. I think it would have been more comfortable if somebody was there. Because till I ran into Jess, I was like, just like filming, and I was like, oh, like, what is this? You know, there's a social aspect to this work. You like seeing, people you know. Uh, the protest at like 10 a.m. that a lot of my friends were at, that one was probably a little more interesting, but especially on a day like today, I just didn't feel like. Yeah, I'll just be honest. I didn't want to be there at 10 a.m. I just didn't. I've been in a lot of these. I've done my. That's one thing I try to remember. I've done. I'm active. and I can't go to everything. I need to remember that. Uh, so I'm sure there's gonna be no shortage of protests. Believe me. Yeah, Vertical, as Verdi said, Vertical gets a lot more views and a lot more trolls. Yeah, and I was like, then I turned on subscriber only mode because I was like, I don't need to see this racist stuff that people are saying. And then nobody was talking because so then I turned it off and I was like, dude, you know what? So, but yeah, no worries. It's a trial and error. Like I said, this I'm learning this too. I've only been I did my first live stream. It was November. It was during the Scientology protest, right? It was in one of the ones that was at La Poubelle. That was the first time I streamed, and so that's when like we in LA always like jokes about that. She's like, because I like they said I was like freaking out and stuff, and I was like I think honestly I probably played that up a little bit because I do that sometimes, but I generally was like not enjoying that medium, and now I just accepted it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like that's the nature of this medium. It's live. It's unfiltered. I have other mediums where I'm more uh, it, it, like my writing and stuff, which I can polish and all that. You know, that's where I'm like the perfectionist in me comes out. So once you accept it, it's like it's fine. Um, it is a little awkward trying to have conversations though. Like I saw a couple friends and I saw a few people who don't like being on camera, and so that can be a little awkward because I was like, I'm like, hey guys, I'm live, just so you know. And then you got the whole mute thing going on, so you know, like I don't care. I'm happy to be on camera with whatever, as you could tell. I don't care, but other not everybody's like that, obviously. So, um, see, I'm not saying I won't go live again, vertical, but I don't know. I don't like it when that chat gets weird like that. I just I do this stuff because I enjoy it too, and I don't obviously don't enjoy when people like that come in. So I don't know. Um, but like I said, there's gonna be no shortage of protests. That's for sure. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I think I'm guessing everybody here is a subscriber, but if you're not, please subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the chat, subscribe to the Substack, which is also free. And those links are in the chat. Um, yeah, my mod is great. We have one mod right now, SPTV Tattoo Warrior. She definitely is a troll hunter and knows politics real well, but it's tough as you guys know. I mean, you guys see these other channels like Will's, I don't know how many mods Will has. He probably has a lot, but or Jess, but these people, when you start getting into that where hundreds of people in there, it starts getting crazy. So yeah, I'm sure that'll improve as we go. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Yeah, thanks for coming in. Tomorrow's Tuesday, so I hope you guys have a good day. Okay, and be well.